He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. She loses it online. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The online or virtual environment is a playground for the narcissist. It enables the narcissist to reach far more people with very little effort whatsoever, resulting in the receipt of fuel from, conceivably, millions of different appliances. Where that fuel is being provided in writing, it's not particularly fulsome. It's only a small amount. But nevertheless, receiving complimentary observations by way of comments again and again and again and again and again results in a steady stream of fuel for the narcissist. The narcissist, of course, prefers proximate fuel. It's a much larger amount, and it's more likely to come from a more potent source. For instance, having sex with the intimate partner primary source provides huge amounts of fuel of a much greater potency. Nevertheless, the online environment is very easy to obtain that fuel from. Nobody really needs to be seduced. A simple interaction can result in the provision of that fuel. It also allows the narcissist, if you will, to have many fishing rods in the lake at one time, waiting for a bite that can then be pursued. It enables the narcissist to portray particular images, different ones to different people, possibly for the purposes of gaining residual benefits, where you have narcissists engaging in financially fraudulent activity online. It allows the narcissist to reach people at any time of day. There will have been a point where all that was available would be to call somebody on the other side of the world at huge expense many years ago, but now there's always somebody who's available via the internet, which means that if the narcissist keeps unusual hours in their home country, they can still be able to contact somebody somewhere as a consequence of the ability to reach so many different people. The narcissist can pretend to be different people. The narcissist has an extensive reach through the online environment. The narcissist is able to increase the amount of fuel that's obtained by moving perhaps to a Skype conversation or a Zoom conversation. The online environment really is a playground for the narcissist and has led to many people being misled as a consequence of thinking they were talking to one person but being involved with another, perhaps taken down the route of being financially scammed, or being drawn into a relationship that began online in the hunting ground with the narcissist that then moves to a real-life relationship only for them to suffer the consequences of being ensnared with a narcissist. The advent of the online environment has proven a veritable boon for narcissists around the world. And one aspect of it, of course, is the ability to monitor what is being stated. Utilizing search engines, the narcissist is able to Google their own name to find out what's being written and stated about them, to identify newspaper pieces, blog articles, videos, etc. And it's undoubtedly the case that certain narcissists engage in that behavior because their paranoia, as part of their narcissism, drives them to find out what is being written and said about them. In part, it's done to receive the fuel, and also it's done to deal with the issue of control. Not all narcissists engage in this online perusal of themselves. They're too busy. They have other matters that they need to attend to. But those of a lower echelon, lesser and mid-range, often want to find out what is being said about them, even if it is just at a local level between somebody who isn't famous and what's being stated about them perhaps by members of their family, the immediate ex, the current partner, etc. And when it comes to somebody who has a degree of fame or infamy, with certain narcissists it becomes the case that they really do spend time reading and watching what is written and said about them. We know that this one's wife is a mid-range narcissist. We know that she has a lot of time on her hands as a consequence of the fact that she doesn't have a proper job, that she has a staff doing her cleaning and looking after the children to the extent that they exist, that she doesn't run a company, that she engages in Zoom calls from time to time, no doubt berating people as to the lack of success and the latest project that has turned and crumbled to dust. And thus she has plenty of time. We also know that she's a particularly petty individual, a combination of the fact that she's not particularly bright and the way that her narcissism operates. And thus this means that she has the time and the inclination to go online to find out what's being written and said about her. Undoubtedly, she'll Google her own name. Undoubtedly, she'll look at the news headlines on a daily basis. Undoubtedly, she'll go to social media to find out what's being said and written, both favourably and unfavourably. And of course, given the fact that she is extensively unpopular, she will repeatedly come up against criticism of her, which of course she can't accept. Her narcissism immediately labels that as a threat to control, and it requires that she do something about it. In many instances, she will just complain to somebody within the immediate coterie about how she's misunderstood, that they don't know me, and that they are haters. The relevant flunky will agree, and that will give her that subconscious need for control. In other instances, she will just haughtily dismiss them, staying in a position of withdrawal. But there are occasions where this one's wife actively seeks to nullify the threat to control directly. And this has manifested once again with quite the tirade that has occurred under the guise of guest speaker. It is a long-held belief that on the New York Post's below-the-line commentary, an individual who writes as guest speaker is actually this one's wife. This is something that has been arrived at as a consequence of people scrutinising the way that she writes, the comments that she issues, and the frequency by which she engages in certain behaviour. And as you can see, across the screen is the latest batch of comments that have been spawned all in the course of one day by guest speaker, as she has engaged in running battles with other commenters. There is a common theme in relation to what she writes. It's about defending this one's wife and Harry, suggesting that people don't know them, that familiar bleating call of the Sugars, suggesting that William is a work-shy fop, dissing Camilla, pouring scorn and criticism in the direction of William, and repeatedly locking horns with other commentators. Is this one's wife? Well, the evidence does support that she is writing under the name of guest speaker, and certainly understanding the way that a mid-range narcissist behaves, and particularly one that has a lot of time on her hands, it's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility that this is her looking to nullify the threats to control that are posed by what other people comment by responding as a commenter. Now, naturally, she's not going to do it under her own name, and she would choose an alternative name that would accompany her comments. And what is interesting is that the volume of comments that have been generated over a relatively short space of time almost seems frenzy-like in its nature, that it might be precipitated by something else which has caused her to go to the New York Post and engage in battling people by criticising William and supporting herself and Harry. That something has got to her that there's a real bee in her bonnet, and of course many of the commentators that are found on the New York Post are sceptical of this one's wife, so she's not going to be in short supply of those that will argue with her. This, of course, provides her with fuel. It's not particularly large amounts, and it's not particularly potent, because it's coming from tertiary sources, but it's fuel nevertheless, and she will take it. But what's a greater issue for her is the ability to try and nullify the threats to control by entering into battle with these individuals. And it would appear that she certainly loses it with the volume of comments and the frequency of them and the content of them that demonstrates something has really got under her skin. Do you believe the guest speaker is this one's wife? Or perhaps you think it's somebody else, just a sugar? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.